ki Principal Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta ki Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories be assembled. All glories be assembled. All glories be assembled. All glories to Shri Shri Guru Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Today we are reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 3, chapter number 25, entitled The Glories of Devotional Service, text number 29. Yo yogo bhagavad pano.
Ya yogo bhagavad vano.
Nirvanatman svayodhitaha.
Nirvanatman svayodhitaha.
Kidrishakati changani.
Kidrishakati changani.
Yatastattva prabodhanam.
Yatastattva prabodhanam.
Yogo bhagavad pano.
Yogo bhagavad vano.
Nirvanatman svayodhitaha.
Nirvanatman svayodhitaha.
Kidrishakati changani.
Kidrishakati changani.
Yatastattva prabodhanam.
Yatastattva prabodhanam.
Yogo bhagavad pano. Nirvanatman svayodhitaha.
Nirvanatman svayodhitaha.
Kidrishakati changani.
Kidrishakati changani.
Yatastattva prabodhanam.
Yatastattva prabodhanam. Yogo bhagavad vano. Nirvanatman svayodhitaha. Kidrishakati changani. Yatastattva prabodhanam. Ya yogo bhagavan vano. Nirvinastasmai tarayodhita. Kidraskati changani. Yatastattva bodhanam.
Yo yogo bhagavad vano.
Ya yogo bhagavad vano.
Nirvanatmam stavita.
Nirvanatmam prayodhita.
Kidrishakati changani.
Kidrishakati changani.
Yatastattva bodhanam.
Yatastattva bodhanam.
Yo yogo bhagavad vano.
Ya yogo bhagavad vano.
Nirvanatman svayodhita.
Nirvanatmam prayodhita.
Kidrishakati changani.
Kidrishakati changani.
Yatastattva bodhanam.
Yatastattva bodhanam. Ya yogo bhagavad vano. Nirvinatmam prayodhita. Kidrishakati changani. Yatastattva bodhanam.
First of all, yaha, which, yogaha, mystic yoga process, Bhagavad Vanaha, aiming at the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Nirvana Atman, or embodiment of Nirvana, Tvaya, by you, Utitaha, explained, Kidrishaha, of what nature, Kati, how many, Cha, and Angani, branches, Yataha, by which, Tattva, of the truth, Avabodhanam, understanding. Translation and purport by Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. The mystic yoga system, as you have explained, aims at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is meant for completely ending material existence. Please let me know the nature of that yoga system. How many ways are there by which one can understand in truth that sublime yoga? Purport. There are different kinds of mystic yoga systems aiming for different phases of the absolute truth. The Jnana Yoga system aims at the impersonal Brahman effulgence, and the Hatha Yoga system aims at the localized personal aspect, the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth. Whereas Bhakti Yoga, or devotional service, which is executed in 9 different ways, headed by hearing and chanting, aims at complete realization of the Supreme Lord. There are different methods of self-realization, but here Devahoti especially refers to the Bhakti Yoga system, which has already been primarily explained by the Lord. The different parts of the Bhakti Yoga system are hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping the Lord in the temple, accepting service to Him, carrying out His orders, making friendship with Him, and ultimately surrendering everything for the service of the Lord. The word Nirvanatman is very significant in this verse. Unless one accepts the process of devotional service, one cannot end the continuation of material existence. As far as Jnanis are concerned, they are interested in Jnana Yoga. But even if one elevates oneself, after a great performance of austerity to the Brahman effulgence, there is a chance of falling down again to the material world. Therefore, Jnana Yoga does not actually end material existence. Similarly, regarding the Hatha Yoga system, which aims at the localized aspect of the Lord, Paramatma, it has been experienced that many yogis, such as Vishwamitra, fall down. But Bhakti yogis, once approaching the Supreme Personality of Godhead, never come back to this material world, as it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Yad gatva na nivartante, upon going, one never comes back. Taktva deham punarjanma naiti. After giving up this body, he never comes back again to accept a material body. Nirvana does not finish the existence of the soul is ever existing. Therefore, Nirvana means to end one's material existence. And to end material existence means to go back home, back to Godhead. Sometimes it is asked how the living entity falls down from the spiritual world to the material world. Here is the answer. Unless one is elevated to the Vaikuntha planets, directly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is prone to fall down, either from the impersonal Brahman realization or from the ecstatic trance of meditation. Another word in this verse, Bhagavad Banaha, is very significant. Banaha means arrow. The Bhakti Yoga system is just like an arrow, aiming up to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Bhakti Yoga system never urges one towards the impersonal Brahman effulgence or to the point of Paramatma realization. This Banaha or arrow is so sharp and swift that it goes directly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, penetrating the regions of impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma. Translation again. The mystic yoga system, as you have explained, aims at the Supreme Personality of Godhead and is meant for completely ending material existence. Please let me know the nature of that yoga system. How many ways are there by which one can understand in truth that sublime yoga? Om Jnana Mandir Dāsa Jnana Chakshurunatan Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gauravartavrinda. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. So the yoga system, or the mystic yoga system, is actually meant for pleasing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is meant for realizing Krishna, and also it is meant to end material existence. That's the prime purpose of yoga. So in Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, Krishna talks about yoga. That the many chapters in Bhagavad Gita are their title, they end with yoga, dhyana yoga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga. Then in the 6th chapter is titled Jnana Yoga. So in the 6th chapter, Krishna explains the meaning of the word yoga. So the word yoga means to unite. So unite with who? That's the big question. So yoga means to unite with Krishna, as he says. So that's the entire purpose of yoga, whether it is karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, they all ultimately have to come to the point of bhakti. Because that's what yoga is really about, and that's what devotional service is. So devotional service is about rendering causeless service to the Supreme Personality of God, Krishna, without any motivation and without any interruption. So there's different types of yoga, as we know, and they have different purposes. So there's karma yoga, which is karma yoga is there because we are very addicted to fruitive activities by nature. So we are in the material world because we are addicted to the fruits of our activities. If I do something, what will I get? That's the prime motivation. So a lot of activities people do is there is always some motivation in it. That's why they are doing it. Otherwise, they won't be doing it. Most people in the world are fruitive. There are very few philanthropists. But even in that, there is some degree of selfish motivation. But in pure bhakti, one who is rendering pure devotional service, there is no motivation, and such service is uninterrupted. And that is very rare in this world. So karma yoga is about dovetailing our fruitive nature and doing something what we like, but doing it for Krishna. So that is karma yoga. It is dovetailing our activities for the pleasure of Krishna. Then in jnana yoga, one tries to find out about one's existence. So there are some people in this world, they're very less now, but there are still some people in this world who are trying to find out about what is the nature of this world, who am I, and what we are part of. They're trying to understand this whole material existence by their own power of intelligence. By their power of intelligence, they're trying to find out about the root of everything. So they are the jnana yogis. And such people are very rare because it takes a lot of intelligence and takes a lot of discipline to do this. And then even more rare are the hatha yogis, as it is explained here. Those who are after Paramatma realization. So there are yogis who try to see the Lord in the heart. There are some yogis like that who are trying to find out that God is in everyone's heart and I want to see God and He's in my own heart as well. So they're trying to see the Lord, and to do that they engage in a lot of tapasya. And in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about Dhyana Yoga. So there is the 8 angas, Yam, Niyam, Pratyahar, and so on, up to the point of Samadhi. So when they come to the point of Samadhi or trance, they are able to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead in its Paramatma feature within the heart. So the Jnanis, their perfection is to reach to the Brahman platform. Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti. So there's 3 levels of God realization. So at the most preliminary level is Brahman realization, where one tries to, where one comes to the understanding that of the Brahman effulgence. So this Brahman effulgence is emanating from Krishna. As even Lord Brahma, he confirms in the Brahma Samhita that this Brahman effulgence is coming from Govinda. It is an emanation from his body. And so some people, they try to attain that. God is light, and we want to attain the Brahman effulgence. And then there are others who want to attain Paramatma realization. They want to see God in the heart. Prabhupada gives the example of Vishwamitra Muni. He was trying to attain Paramatma realization, but unfortunately he got sidetracked. And then there are the Bhakti yogis who are trying to understand Krishna in his personalized aspect of as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the complete understanding of God. So these are the three types of yogis. And in today's age, in Kali Yuga, in the 22nd century, no, 21st century, it is extremely rare to see any Jnana yogi or Paramatma yogi. In fact, Bhakti yogis are more common than Jnana and Paramatma yogis. These days, the goal of yoga, as it is said here, the mystic yoga system is meant to aim at Krishna, and it is meant to end material existence. So yoga, as it is known today, is aiming at increasing our bondage in material existence. It is not yoga, as we know, is meant to end material existence. So the understanding of yoga in the Shastras is completely different to what most people have an understanding of yoga. So for most people, their understanding of yoga is some exercise, it feel good, it is some breathing exercises, some asanas, and so that we can live a longer life. That's the whole idea. The whole idea behind yoga is to live a long and healthy life, and to live a long and healthy life so one can engage in more sense gratification. And when one engages in more sense gratification, then one's term in material existence is prolonged. So that's what the Shastras explain, that the more we engage in the satisfaction of the senses, our term in material existence extends. Because the reason it extends because one has to experience the fruits of one's activities one has to experience the fruits of one's activities. That's why the term of existence, material existence, increases. So the more one engages in material activities, one has to come back to get the karma, whether it is good or bad. So in this way, one's term extends. But in yoga, in the yoga system, whether it is Jnana yoga, Bhakti yoga, or Paramatma realization, they all are trying to end material existence. And they are even able to end material existence. Srila Prabhupada mentions that even the Jnana yogis and the Paramatma yogis, they are able to attain liberation. But their attaining of liberation is very risky. Because why it is risky? Because there is no proper realization of Krishna, and there is not much activity. So we see in the Jnana yogis, they attain liberation after great austerities. First of all, it's not very easy, and even if they do attain it, it is after undergoing extreme amounts of tribulation. Because in Jnana yoga, one has to control one's senses by his own strength. They have to control their senses. They have to control their mind and senses. And we know that is very difficult, right? To control the mind and senses is extremely difficult because the senses are very strong. And Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that even a man of great intelligence, if his mind focuses on one of the senses, he will be carried away. So the senses are very, very strong. And Krishna says the senses are impetuous, they're so strong. And we should not underestimate the power of the senses. And so much of advertising and marketing is focused on the senses and our mind, because they know if you focus on any of the five senses and the mind, you can sell your product. So in marketing and advertising, they're very expert. They understand the psychology of the mind, and they understand the power of the senses. and they tailor the advertising in such a way that that people are captivated, and most people are captivated. And you can see the proof is there's so much sales. So the sales is the barometer of success of their campaign. So it is very difficult to control the senses. So in Jnana Yoga, one has to control the senses by their own endeavor. It's not by Krishna's mercy, as in Bhakti Yoga, as in Krishna consciousness. It is by their own endeavor. So they have to refrain from certain activities, and they have to engage their intelligence in reading Shastra. And the Jnana Yogis, they mainly read the Vedanta Sutra. And that's their prime text. So they read the Upanishads, the Vedanta Sutra, not so much Śrīmad Bhāgavatam or Bhagavad Gita. They mainly focus on the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra. And they try to understand that by their own intelligence. So it's a very dry and speculative process. So there's not much positive activity. Just imagine, studying all day. We find it hard to read, just study Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam all day. Just imagine trying to read Vedanta Sutra all day, or Upanishads. There's not much rasa there. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is full of rasa. Bhagavad Gita. This is the rasa shastra. And just sitting, reading, doing breathing exercises, yoga, and all day, just doing that. And thinking and discussing with your other yogis about this subject matter. And their diet is also very austere. It's not like our diet. We are feasting every day. It's not like that. Very austere diet. And the Jnana Yogis, they are celibates. They're not even grihasthas. So, as Nanda Prabhu was mentioning on Devamita Swami's Vyasa Puja, that it is very difficult to be a sannyasi, to take the vows of a sannyasi. To maintain those vows one's whole life, it is a very big thing. So you can see that those who are Jnana Yogis, they are usually celibates. They are brahmacharis or sannyasis. So very difficult. In Kali Yuga, so many are unable to fulfill those vows. So it's not very practical. And even if they do attain liberation, they come back to the material, most of them come back to the material plane because of a lack of positive engagement. So because of a lack of engagement in bhakti activities, they come back to the material platform. So that is the risk with Jnana Yoga. And with Paramatma realization, Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Vishwamitra Muni. So, who knows the story of Vishwamitra Muni?
Manika.
Huh?
He was captured with Manika.
Yes. So what happened with him?
Shakuntala was
Born, yes.
Can you give some more details? You know the pastime, right, Prabhuji? So Vishwamitra was a great yogi, but he got attracted by Shakuntala, right?
Not so attractive, Shakuntala.
Sorry?
Manika.
Manaka.
Menaka, and Shakuntala was born.
Born, yes.
Thank you. So he was attracted by this Mataji, and so his practice was finished. So we can see that even in Paramatma realization, he was trying to attain Paramatma realization again is very difficult. Krishna explains in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. One has to go to a forest, be in seclusion, again similar to Jnana, go in a forest, execute great tapasya, and be a brahmachari, and then meditate on the Lord within the heart. So one has to again control the senses, mind, sit, and be completely free of fear, because in a forest there's wild animals, right? So you have to be fearless. Can you imagine going there with a snake slithering there, tiger? You hear the sound of a tiger, suddenly the heartbeat will increase. You might have a heart attack. But they have to be free of fear. Krishna explains these qualifications of a Paramatma yogi in the Bhagavad Gita, then one can meditate and then attain Paramatma realization. Still there is a risk. So we are very fortunate in Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada gave us Bhakti Yoga because in Kali Yuga, these processes are not practical for 99.99% of the people. Very small percentage, they're sitting in the Himalayas, they engage in these processes, and in Kumbh Mela you might see them. And Srila Prabhupada, he talks about, one time Srila Prabhupada was in Allahabad with his disciples, they were bathing in the Ganges during the Kumbh Mela. And then suddenly out of the water, these small boys, they surfaced from the Ganges. And Srila Prabhupada said, these young boys, maybe they were your age, Krishna, they are 700 to 800 years old. And they have come high up from the regions of the Himalayas. They took a dip in the Ganges up there and they came down here in a matter of moments by their yogic powers. So that's very rare. Very few people are there up there doing it. But for the vast majority, we are most of us are householders living in big cities, doing jobs. It's not practical. So in Kali Yuga, the process of self-realization, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he came to give, is the process of Sankirtan Yoga. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for this age. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his Shikshashtakam prayers, he mentions Cheto Darpana Bhajanam, Bhava Mahadavani, that this process of hearing and chanting, as Srila Prabhupada here explains, Srila Prabhupada talks that Bhakti Yoga, there's 9 processes. Prahlad Maharaj, he spoke about the 9 processes of devotion service in the 7th canto of Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. He said, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, right? So he says, hearing, chanting, remembering, offering prayers, worshipping the Lord in the temple, accepting service to Him, carrying out His orders, making friendship with Him, and ultimately spending everything for the service of the Lord. These are the 9 processes of devotion service. So by engaging in these 9 processes, or any one of these processes, one can achieve complete Krishna consciousness. So Parikshit Maharaj is an example of Shravanam. He's an example of Shravanam. So Parikshit Maharaj, he heard the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam with rapt attention for 7 days, 7 nights from Shukdev Goswami. So he heard and he attained perfection. So in Kali Yuga, these are the means. And whereas in the other processes, there is a high chance of falling in Maya. Whereas if one attains perfection in Bhakti Yoga, one does not fall into Maya. And Krishna, he says this in the Bhagavad Gita. In the 4th chapter, 9th verse, he says, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tattvada tyatva deham punarjanma naiti mam eti swarjana. So he says, one who understands the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon quitting this body, attain another material body. So Krishna gives us assurance simply by understanding Him. Just by understanding Him, one can go back to Godhead. So in India, a lot of people say, I know Krishna. Those who do book distribution, they know. When they encounter people of Indian origin, they'll say, Krishna, I know him. Krishna did these activities, he stole butter, he danced with the gopis, he spoke Bhagavad Gita, I know Krishna. But if you ask them how many chapters are there in the Bhagavad Gita, most are not able to tell you. They cannot give you, they get stumbled right over there. So one has to understand Krishna in truth. Krishna says one has to understand my tattva. So one has to understand what Krishna's real position is. If one understands Krishna's position as he describes in the Bhagavad Gita, then one can go back to Godhead. And to understand that, then one has to read Bhagavad Gita as it is, not other Bhagavad Gitas. So if one is unfortunate to come in touch with a concocted Bhagavad Gita, version of Bhagavad Gita, then one cannot understand Krishna. But Srila Prabhupada, he made it so easy. Srila Prabhupada, he translated the Bhagavad Gita and he emphasized on the distribution of it. I think someone was mentioning the other day. I heard somewhere, I can't remember where, but we're part of the 50th anniversary of ISKCON. That does anyone know how many copies of Bhagavad Gita have been distributed? 55 million, thank you. Yeah. Just can't remember where I heard that. Yes, Devanand Swami was. Was that at the retreat? Bhagavatam, yeah, Bhagavatam class. His Holiness Devanand Swami was mentioning that 55 million copies of Bhagavad Gita have been distributed. So we can see Srila Prabhupada distributed these books and he got them distributed. So by such massive distribution, it has become very easy for people to understand Krishna. If they read Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada has given a commentary on it and it's become very easy to understand. So if people have got a very good opportunity to understand Krishna, and they can go back to God if they truly understand Krishna. And then even in another verse, in the 8th chapter, Krishna says that one who attains my nature, he never comes back. In the 21st verse of the 8th chapter, he says, Avyakto kshara iti yuktas tam ahu paramam gatim yam prapya nanivartante tad dhamma paramam mama. That which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible, that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which, having attained it, one never returns, that is my supreme goal. So Krishna says again, Yam prapya nanivartante tad dhamma paramam mama. That one who comes to my abode never goes back. So Krishna gives that assurance. Then even in the 15th chapter, in the 6th verse, he says the same thing. Natad bhasyate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yad katva na nivartante tad dhama paramam mama. That supreme abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. You won't get an electricity bill there. Those who reach it never return to this material world. So there Krishna is again assuring that one who attains perfection, he never returns. And one might ask, how come devotees are falling down all the time? So the point is, one who has come to the platform of Bhakti Yoga, one who has reached perfection in Bhakti Yoga, one who has come to the platform of pure devotional service, they do not fall down. And Prabhupada, even here, he says in the verse that sometimes it is asked how the living entity falls down from the spiritual world to the material world. Here is the answer. Unless one is elevated to the Vaikuntha planets, directly in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he is prone to fall down. So the moment we are out of touch with Krishna, we fall down. Simple. When we are in touch, we won't fall down. But it's just like if you want to be a businessman, if you are in touch with other businessmen, you go to all the conferences and seminars and you hang out with them, and chances are you will become a businessman, you might become successful if you are in that sangha. And if you stop associating with them, then you lose your competitive edge. Very high chances, you lose your competitive edge. So in the same way, when we are in touch with Krishna, with the 9 processes of devotional service, in the association of devotees, and we strive to render pure devotional service, then we won't fall down. When it comes to the platform of prema, one does not fall down. So till we are on the material platform, there is always, always every chance of falling down. But if we stay in the association of devotees and not commit offenses and engage in devotional service, then the chances of falling down are much less. So the association of devotees is the key. So there are 9 processes of devotional service, beginning with hearing and chanting. And Ambarish Maharaj, he was executing all the 9 processes of devotional service. So there's, in the Shastra, there's mention of devotees who attain perfection just by performing one particular process. Example was given of Shuddha Goswami, of Shravanam Kirtanam. And then Shravanam was Parikshit Maharaj. Just by hearing, he attained liberation. And liberation means going back to God. So I'll end it there. Do you have any questions or comments on this verse of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam?
Can you give an example of mystic yoga? Any example? Mahaprabhu showed mystic yoga.
Mahaprabhu showed any mystic yoga, he is asking.
Well, basically, mystic yoga is chanting Hare Krishna. That's an example. That is also mystic yoga. That we are able to control our mind and senses, right? Just by chanting Hare Krishna, and we are able to attain love for Krishna. That is mystic yoga. That's a very practical example of mystic yoga.
Anything else? Mahaprabhu showed when they were doing chanting, the devotee was hungry, so he asked for a seed of mango, put the seed and big tree came out, and so big mangoes and all mature. So everybody was saying, that was mystic yoga.
Yes. And Srila Prabhupada's spreading the Sankirtan movement is also mystic yoga. Because ordinarily, it is not possible. Someone at the age of 69 coming across other side of the world with a pair of books and strong conviction, and then setting up this global movement and translating so many books, that is also another example. Thank you for example.
When you talk about completely ending material existence, what does it mean? Because material existence is always there. So temple is there, you are there, I am there. So what is meant by this completely ignoring the material existence? Even this Devamrita Swamiji was lecturing, and in his lecture in this class, he mentioned that we have to completely ignore the material existence, and that is why the civilization will progress, the history will progress. But we have seen the history doesn't progress by ignoring the material existence, rather embracing the material existence and developing the system through it.
So completely ending material existence means being completely Krishna conscious. So when one is fully Krishna conscious, one has come to the platform of pure devotional service, then for that person, that jiva, material existence has ended. And in fact, they're not even in the material world anymore, because even right now they're in the spiritual world, because everything is Krishna's energy. So from that perspective, everything is spiritual. So one who has become Krishna conscious, for him everything is spiritual. They don't see everything as material energy. They see it as Krishna's energy, and they see it as Krishna's energy meant to be engaged in Krishna's service. So for them, they have ended material existence, though they are in the material world. But the material world will always be there, because there will always be someone who is rebelling against Krishna. So the prison house will always be there, because there is always some people who will not follow the laws of the state. So in the same way, the material world will perpetually be there because of the rebellious jivas. Yes, Madhuri?
I have a bit of a tradition is that you were mentioning Bhakti yogis always also focus in jnana a lot, and they accumulate this knowledge, or transcendental knowledge. Also, there is a sense of pride also. I've seen it. And so my question is, someone that do not study the Ved or the Bhagavad Gita before,
Someone what?
that do not study like
Yes.
the Bhagavad Gita and do not accumulate all this jnana, can also attain the same, because isn't it the ultimate goal to taste the sweetness of the holy name? Or
The ultimate goal too? I didn't get
so
that.
the question is, someone that cannot study the Bhagavad Gita fully, would it attain the same goal?
Sure, okay. Well, okay, so
What is the question?
thank you. From what I understand, the question is, do you have to study the Shastra in order to have a complete understanding of Krishna? Can you have complete understanding of Krishna just by chanting the holy name? Is that the question?
Means
Yes, no?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Whereas she's saying, I've seen devotees who are studying the Shastra, but they're very proud, and they don't understand Krishna.
Obviously, to the extent that you become proud, you're not very humble. To the extent you're not humble, you're not a very qualified servant. So that softness of the heart is not there.
Yes.
To
Okay.
raise that.
So one can attain perfection just by chanting the holy name. There's example of Ajamal. He took the name of Narayan on his deathbed, and the Vishnu Dutas came there. So the thing is, he chanted the holy name offenselessly. He did not commit offenses while chanting. And even prior to his falling into Maya, he was a Brahmana, and he had read the Shastra very well. He had a good understanding. He fell into Maya. He was a Brahmana, and but he took the Lord's name offenselessly. So yes, if somebody takes the holy name offenselessly, they can attain liberation. But the thing is, it's not very easy. Hardly anyone does that. So to come to that level, one has to cultivate knowledge. And to come to that level, one has to study the Shastra. If not study, one has to hear. Right? For those who don't have propensity to read so much, they have to hear the Shastra in association of devotees. And yes, knowledge is only good if it is acted upon. That's another point. And if one is proud by cultivating knowledge, then one really hasn't understood it fully. Because if one understands the Shastra, one won't be proud. One will be humbled. So when one will understand one's true nature. Because that's what Shastra is saying, very insignificant, Krishna is great, we're meant to serve him. So coming back to your point, it is possible to understand Krishna just by chanting, but it's generally very difficult because one has to first cultivate knowledge. And in cultivating that knowledge, one might become proud. But that's okay, even if one gets proud, at least we are cultivating that knowledge in association with devotees. Then Krishna, in the association of devotees, somehow smashes our pride. But at least that endeavor is there from devotee side to cultivate knowledge. Yes, one should try to overcome that pride, because if one is simply proud of cultivating knowledge, then one cannot engage in bhakti properly. But if we are under the proper guidance, then we can overcome that pride in gaining knowledge. Yes, Krishna is not reading Shastra is not about giving a lot of lectures, sitting here and speaking high philosophy, quoting so many verses, and this Shastra, that Shastra. It is about living the philosophy. And that's more powerful. If one can live the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and then speak, it has a lot of power. And we can see devotees who are strictly following, and they're living the Shastra, the person Bhagavat, who's living the book Bhagavat. When they speak, it has a lot of potency, and it really touches the heart. It influences the heart. But the beginning is one has to start somewhere. So in the beginning, we do get very proud just by knowing a few verses, being able to quote them, and one gets proud. But that's the beginning. So hopefully one will overcome that. So even if someone gets proud amongst devotees, one should be compassionate and understand, because we might have been there as well, or we might still be there at that level. So yes, it is important to read Shastra. That's why Srila Prabhupada emphasized reading of Shastra for devotees. So Prabhupada emphasized Śrīmad Bhāgavatam class. If one can't come hearing, we have a wonderful facility. Now it has gone to another level. There is an online audience. So there's a live streaming going on, and there is audio lectures, which is just amazing. Devotees have taken the service to another level. So there's so much opportunity to hear. If you can't come to class, then you can hear. There's so much media available, and read Shastra. And then that way we have to cultivate knowledge. Otherwise it's difficult. Otherwise one will come back, will stay on the material platform.
On that point, what we have said, besides, Srila Prabhupada said 3 stages of chanting. One is offensive stage, clearing stage, and Shuddha stage. So if you are in Shuddha stage, you will get all the knowledge. But that is most difficult to understand.
Yes.
So if we chant with a Shuddha stage, completely pure, then we can go to Krishna, even by chanting.
Thank you. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Right. Any final question?
You mentioned the verse 4.9.
Sorry?
You mentioned the verse 4.9.
I mentioned what?
The verse number 4.9.
Yes, 4.9. Yes.
Then comes the
Yeah. So, it says to understand it with tattva. Right? So, we do listen to the classes and we do listen and understand about the nature of the material world and also the spiritual world. But on the way, while we are living the day-to-day life, we just keep forgetting Krishna also and who we are also. So, how to understand that tattva and continue with that tattva understanding always.
So question is how to, I didn't get the last bit.
How to continue, we understand that Krishna's nature and Krishna's birth is like this, his activity is like this, but on a day-to-day life we do forget that nature of ourselves as well and Krishna's nature as well.
Okay. Well, I'll give you the same answer Maharaj gave. In your context, I think it's very difficult for you to forget Krishna because you're all the time engaging in
I'm actually asking someone else.
devotional service. You ask for someone else. So if one is engaged in, that's why we have to render service. So we have to study the Shastra and also engage in service. Because we can't read Shastra all the time, right? We don't have that discipline and we don't have that ruchi, that taste it. And the mind is absorbed in so many other things. So to read to the best of one's ability, and then when one engages in seva, in devotional service, that is also remembering Krishna. So coming to your context, you're always engaged in devotional service, and that is also, to engage in service, you have to be thinking of Krishna. At least thinking that I'm doing this for Krishna. Right? So that is also remembering Krishna, and by that one will understand Krishna. And as for others, like those of us who are working, we have to, as I was saying before, you just have to make time to read or time to hear. There's no other way about it. So by doing that and being in association of devotees, when we are in association of devotees, we will be reminded of Krishna. And when we are in association of devotees, we will get service. And then gradually by doing service, that realization will slowly come. The more selfless service we do, the more we realize. It's just like that. So when the service is selfless, the chanting is selfless, then when we read the Shastra and we do begin to, Krishna gives his mercy, and then we can begin to slowly appreciate Krishna's transcendental nature. So it's service tied with chanting and hearing. That's my answer. If anyone has something to add to it, please feel free to. Prabhupada would like to add something to that or correct it. Okay. So would you like to add something? It's always engaged in hearing and chanting. Okay, so I'd like to end there. Thank you for your kind attendance. Śrīmad Prabhupada ki jai. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam.